All right, you are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night's Moshiach Matters class. Because now, more than ever, Moshiach matters. All right, as we are at the threshold of the Gula Shlema, as we've been learning together for the last several years, everything that is happening in the world are clear signs, as predicted by our sages thousands of years ago, and we are on the threshold of redemption. And so we are, as the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach taught us in the Sikha from 2 weeks ago, we're not only learning to prepare for Mashiach's imminent arrival, but we are learning to live with Mashiach right now. So let's get right into it. It's a long Sikha, action-packed, a lot of good stuff in here. And yeah. Okay, we're in Parshas Devarim, known in the English vernacular as Deuteronomy. Aleph. Yemim Ele. B'prat. B'vo'enu Meshavas Tisha B'Av. Yitchet. Hayom Yamim Mesugulim B'Yosef L'Beis Mishakti Kenu. And it says in these days, and specifically in our times, from Shabbat of Tisha B'Av, which is pushed off, they are the days that are very appropriate for the coming of Mashiach, our righteous Redeemer. In addition to this, the main faith and belief of all the Jewish people, Ani Ma'amin, I believe, that I will wait for you every single day. I will wait for your coming. What it means, I wait that you're coming every day. Not the Rambam says it's a mitzvah for the Jewish people to have faith that we're supposed to believe in Mashiach's coming every day. So the Rebbe explains it doesn't mean that every day, well, yeah, I believe Mashiach's coming, but it means I believe Mashiach's coming today, like literally, with every fiber in your body, to believe with unwavering power that today is the day that Mashiach will come. And specifically at this time in general, has been expressed as of recently, many, many times. That accordingly to all the signs, the redemption we are at the threshold of redemption. And namely, Mashiach is literally coming right now. And it should happen this moment. How much more so does this apply in the days of the month of Av? It says in the Midrash. They're talking about the lion, the Mazal of Ari, the Mazal, how do you say Mazal? The horoscope in the month of Av, corresponding to the month of July, is the lion, Ari. And it says, what is Ari? It's also from the Ariel, which is referring to the Beis Hamikdash. And this is the month of the Ariel, of the lion. And it's the month of the lion that it is strong in the horoscope, because this is our month. I'm an Av child, was born in this month, so applies to me specifically as well. And it's also the fifth month, which is the fifth month that we're in, which is the month of today, Menachem Av. We have just started today's Rosh Chodesh, a special L'chaim to Aaron HaKohen on the day of his Histalchus and his Schus. Should have the ultimate chesed brought forth to all the Jewish people in the Gula Shlema right now. Mazal Ari, V'yavara Ariel, and the rebuilding of the temple. Klomar, in other words, Chodesh Av, V'yavara Beis HaMikdash Shlishi. In other words, the Rebbe says, in the month of Av, this is the time the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt. The temple that was established by the hands of God. Yeshiram is even more than the Zohi Kavana Vatania Manas came Uriah Korban Beit Hamikdash Chodesh. It says that since this is the month that the temple was destroyed, both temples, it is the month that the temple will be rebuilt. Because we know that there is only a destruction for a subsequent rebuilding. Kamudgash Gam Bishmo Shal Chodesh, and it says emphasize on the name of the month, which we refer to as Menachemav, the month of the comforting of Av. Shulfnei Av. Before we say Av, we say Menachem. Makdiyami Menachem. It proceeds with Menachem, which literally means comforter. Nachamas HaGeula, and the comforting of the redemption. Hamora Shebechodesh Zebo Nachamas HaGeula. And we see this is indicative that this is the month that will be comfort of the redemption. That's how we get comforted from our suffering, is from redemption, right? If you're going through a hard time, how do you get comforted? The hard time passes. That's the comfort. And the comforting for all the matters of Av. And this is through transforming any undesirable things. You read that the great descent throughout our history in the month of Av is indicative of the great ascent that is going to take place. It has already started taking place. And just like we said before, that the temple was destroyed and the Ariel, the lion, will be rebuilt in this month. Base. And the month of Menachem Av itself, even more, is strengthened on the day from Tisha B'Av. And this is general from the day, and specifically that year of that Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat. We know, and this is one of the most amazing things of the countless things of our Rebbe, of our Moshiach, how while all the other Jewish rabbis and leaders around the world are crying and saying it's a horrible month and it's terrible and this is the worst month ever, not our Rebbe, because Mashiach sees beyond what they see. He sees into the depth of the deepness in the most possible way, and also the horizon of what is coming. And he sees that this is the month of redemption. In fact, we know, our rabbis teach us, Shabu Yom Tisha B'Av, Yeled Malcha Mashiach. The Mashiach was born on the 9th of Av. And again, I have to qualify, because we know that Mashiach's physical birth date was Yud Aleph Nisan, is Yud Aleph Nisan, the 11th of the month of Nisan. And when it says that he's born in the month in Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, what it means is that his ruach, his spirit, his potential for redeeming the Jewish people entered into the world in this month and on this day, the 9th of Av. And this is emphasized and strengthened even more every single Tisha B'Av. Because the day of someone's birth, his mazal is very strong. It's very powerful. Nimsar comes out from this Tisha B'Av, Miskaver, Mazal, Shemashiach Tzidkenu, Yom Sugola Lugula Mitzvah Shlema. And therefore, the day of Tisha B'Av, which historically has been a not good day for the Jewish people, in fact, in its core, as its essence, is a tremendously good day for the Jewish people. And we know, of course, how and why, because this is the day of Mashiach's birth, and the Mazal, the Mashiach's, his energy, his essence, his brachas are going to be revealed on the day of Tisha B'Av. And this is a segula, some words in Hebrew that just don't translate properly into English, of the true and complete redemption. בעניין זה נוגע גם להלכה למעשה, כתיסה וכתיב זה אריזל, שאומרים תפילה נחל. And we see this also in the tefillah nach, b'yom Tisha B'Av, b'mincha, that we say in Tisha B'Av and mincha. Ki az b'minchas tuva b'nolad Moshiach nikra Menachem. And it says on this day that the birth of Mashiach, and he will bring us comfort. Yesh Amar Shabakasher Tisha B'Av ha b'Shabbos v'Tanias nidchi yom echad. And in that particular year, Tisha B'Av fell on Shabbat. And we know that the only fast that we actually have on Shabbat is Yom Kippur, which this year we do have. Yom Kippur will fall on Shabbat. Any other fast day that falls on Shabbat, Shabbat pushes it off. So in this particular year, when the Rebbe gave the Sicha, Shabbat pushed off Tisha B'Av, and therefore Tisha B'Av was actually, the fast day was on the 10th of Av, which was on Sunday, Yom Rishon that year. And only the undesirable aspects are pushed off. The Rebbe says only the undesirable parts of the day, of a fast day, are pushed off. But the positive parts of the fast day, the innermost, which we learned about at length in last week's Sikha, the innermost holy aspects of that day are not pushed off. And even that it should not weaken, God forbid, through Shabbat. Rather, on the contrary, all the positive aspects of the fast day are strengthened along with Shabbat. The reason for this is found because we know that the entire purpose of all of creation is for the Yidden, for the Jewish people. Lo etichan hari af netziel Yisrael. Kla b'kvis b'zman shenivra b'shvil Yisrael. And it's not possible that even in the existence through the world in general, and the setting up of this particular time that is specifically for the Jewish people, Asher Yifri Chalish Chas v'Shalom Hamshacha v'Yigoyah Kedush B'nei Yisrael, that it should be weakened to disturb, God forbid, the holiness that is allocated to the Jewish people. Kla Lachas Kamal Makame Nin Kol Yikar B'nei Yisrael Kamal Yadas v'Gavoras Mazal Shal Mashiach. And we see this mainly, and how much more so, that the Jewish people, that we are like the birth and the strengthening of the Mazal of Mashiach, because the Mazal of Mashiach is connected to all of our Mazal. So it's a strengthening for all of us, even though the revealed part, and we still have to follow the halacha, is the opposite. It appears to be a day that is undesirable. How much more so we see as this is connected to the day of Shabbat. Because Shabbat itself is a foretaste of the redemption. Like we say in the song of the day on Shabbat. Another So the Rebbe said, Has v'shalom, that Shabbat should push off the fact that Mashiach is born on the Tisha B'Av, on the 9th of Av, and therefore the mazal of the Jewish people is connected to that of Mashiach, and therefore it's a day of a segula. It's a very treasured day for the Jewish people. Only our Rebbe can say such a thing. There's no other rabbi in the world who would even have the capacity to explain how Tisha B'Av is a good day. Ela, the Rabbah, and rather more so. Shabbat noidchei kol yinim habriti ritzoin devnei Yisrael yinim shel hefech haguf. That Shabbos pushes off anything that is undesirable, which would be the opposite of redemption. He magala o yoiser b'havzekes b'yoiser she'es b'yoiser ois es inini hagula b'tisha b'av. And in Dilidas Moshiach Yom Zeh. And we see this revealed even more because it's strengthening this matter of redemption on Tisha B'Av, since this is the day of Mashiach's birth. Therefore, it is a day of tremendous revelation of good because it's the day connected to Mashiach. But Prat Shabbos Zu, and specifically in this Shabbos, he Shabbos Chazon, which is Shabbos Chazon, which is also this Shabbos coming up. Shabbos Chazon is when we get a glimpse where Hashem shows every one of us, and don't fret if you don't wake up with a clear vision. But in all of our sleep, Hashem shows us all a glimpse of the Beis Hamikdash Shlishi, and it is to our soul. So it's definitely and most likely possible that most people will not see the actual glimpse of it, but more likely than that, we will be in the Beis Hamikdash, so it won't make a difference because we'll see it in actuality. The Shabbos is on more reading the Kol Echad Mechas Hamikdash Lasida Maharok, and every one of the Jewish people is shown a glimpse of the Beis Hamikdash. But Prat Sheba Avirim Zois B'Mashra Malvush Beged Shemora Shegilu Hamikdash Nimshach Yoyser Begodi Bechinas Levush Sheroiv Yoyser La Adam. Oh, that in a big day kahona, and it said it's like a father that is that his son. There's a mashal that is given on Shabbos Chazon, but it's like an example of a father whose son soiled his garments, and therefore he took them away to cleanse them, but he gave him a glimpse of what they're going to look like. This is like the third temple that we get a glimpse of, and this is even coming even closer. And we see this also because it's like a foretaste of the glimpse of the special clothing that the Kohanim will be wearing in the times of the Beis Hamikdash when we do our service. So and it will be reborn and will be rebirthed, the land of Israel. Ilui Gimel. And now the Shabbat Tisha B'Av Mudgash Yoyser Be'inin Ha'achila V'Shtia. Excuse me. Kasher Yishna on mitzvahs shel oining Shabbat. And we see an advantage of the fact that Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat even more, because it's already a mitzvah to enjoy Shabbat by eating and drinking. Ango be'oinei echli v'shtia dagim gedolim pasar v'yain, big and delicious fish and delicious tasting wine, guarded wine. There's shlishis, and even as it's connected to the third meal. So the hamseches hadin hu ochla basar v'shtei yain v'suras umafseches ba'ala shal shochayin afilo kesuras shlema be'etz mahusay. Even our third meal on Shabbat should be, which is fitting for a king, should be even more. Again, this doesn't apply to us right now because it's not on Shabbat in our calendar, but the Rebbe is explaining at the time how it should add to even more festivities the fact that Tisha B'Av comes in Shabbat. She's not bechilish v'sara shemen v'shtayim yain yishar. So the Rebbe is saying even more we have to increase in our eating and our drinking and our festive enjoyment of Shabbat when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat. It has been emphasized many times, especially recently, that the innermost dimension of a fast is good. Yom Ratzoin Hashem, it's called a day of desire to God. The Kavana She's Gala because the innermost dimension of the fast day is in fact good. And it's known in the days of Mashiach, the fast days will be transformed to holidays, the days of great joy and happiness. And this will be revealed, of course, in the true and complete redemption. The Indian epinemi had tiniest with gash. בגילוי כאשר תעניס יכול להיות ביום השבת, שאז נדחה רק עניין הצום. איך לא ענייני הצום? But the good aspect, of course, of the fast is not pushed off, only the fact, the negative aspects. היועץ שכל השבת הוא יום רצון. חמנה שמים עושה קריאס ומצוות לאין לגול, וזהו יום הקשור עם הגאולה. אז עץ רצון והתייניאס היא ויועסר שעץ ויועסר עץ ואז התייניאס היא כיום טוב ויום ששון ושמחה ועין ודוגמה כפי שהיא בימות המשיח ואז שתחייס התייניאס על ידי שבת נדחה הכוח להתחייס לגמרי כפי שמגש ביועסר ולתשע באב שכל יועסר בשבס ותחייס לאחר שבס Rabbi Choyel, the Rebbe said the fact that Shabbat is going to push off Tisha B'Av. It should push it off not just to the next day, but completely forever. The Yesh Lamarsh and in the Yushnam with Gasha Yosef Suras at Tisha B'Av Shor B'Shabbat. Shchem Tisha B'Av Yeshna Yili the Least Mashiach will prat la'achar Yatzayim HaYoim Bizman Tefillah Mincha. But prat B'Suras HaFseches B'Suras HaShlishis Shel Shabbat. Yes, Suras HaShlishis will call Shabbat Hari Keshvarim Suras HaSidavot. Suras Vayidan Rishorabor, Shias Yain Shemor. Says this would be a foretaste of the true meal of redemption we're going to have with the guarded wine and the big fish and the delicious and tasty bull. Lachas Kama Vakama, Suras Hashlishi, Shel Shabbat, Tisha B'Av, Kasher Yodan Mashiach. How much more so should this be emphasized on Shabbos Tisha B'Av, the birthday of Mashiach? So the Rebbe is giving us a very clear indication of how the innermost dimension of Tisha B'Av is in fact not just when it falls on Shabbat revealed, but in our days and times that we are already holding the point where the true joy of the fast is coming out and the true transformation and the fact that it's a day of Mazal because it's the day of Mashiach's birth. Yesh Mar Yisra Mazeh Dalit Shekasher Tisha B'Av Shachal B'Shabbos B'Taynias Nidcheh Esrei. I just know my Hamala B'Tishrei Esrei B'Tishrei. Rebbe said that this is the fast of Tisha B'Av is very similar to the fast of Yom Kippur. It's the only other fast that is a 24-hour, but winds up being 25 or actually 26 hours. Kedivrei Hazal Kach Achel B'Shoteh B'Tishii Ma'ala Alav Agavsuru Ke'ilo Hatanya Tishish V'Isrei. V'Adim V'Shaychos Tisha B'Av Yim Yom HaKippurim Yemei Atzomayis Shevachol V'Divrei Kabbalah V'Rabbanim Yesh Lahem Shaychos Im Enem Ram Shaychos Machatzayim the Yom HaKippurim She'im Min HaTorah. That we know Yom Kippur is from the Torah, and Tisha B'Av and the other fasts we know are from the rabbis. Nevertheless, there's a connection. Because first of all the mitzvahs of the rabbis, they're empowered to declare these things, and that's part of the Torah itself. We can understand this from the four fasts that the rabbis instituted. Tisha B'Av, out of all of them, Tisha B'Av is the one that's closest to Yom Kippur. Ein bein Tisha B'Av l'Yom Kippurim, Tisha B'Av al-Aylo, ki Yom Moed kol devar hulu, uven Hashemois shelo asar Yom Kippur, has many of the same stringencies of Yom Kippur. V'prat al pi divrei Hazal shemishuvim hayoyim tayed tu B'Av Shabbat tikun al devarim she'aro b'Tisha B'Av. We know first of all that on Tu B'Av, on the 15th of Av, which is 6 days absent after Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, that it's a tikkun. It's one of the happiest days of the year because it's a fixing up of the undesirable things that took place on the night of Av. In Yom HaKippurim, lo haya v'yamim tovim Yisrael machama eser ba'av. Okay, Yom HaKippurim. And there's no more grateful day for the Jewish people than the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur is Yom Kippurim, the day that is like Purim. Believe it or not, Yom Kippur is a festive day. It is not a fast that is connected like the other fasts instituted by the rabbis for any sort of calamity or negative behavior. On the contrary, it's a day that we are meant to be in a total state of devikus and oneness with God, where our souls are wrapped up together with Hashem in the state of ultimate oneness, to the point that eating and drinking is something that is alien to the very essence of our souls. Which is why on Yom Kippur, if you come to the Center's Yom Kippur program, you will experience the true joy of Yom Kippur. And we see that the great advantage of Tisha B'Av is the fact that Moshiach was born on Tisha B'Av. And it will be, and the completion of this revelation takes place on the 15th of Av. When the moon is in a state of completion. And the completion of the moon is a foretaste of when the moon will be reached in state of completion again when Mashiach comes. Excuse me. And after the great concealment that took place in the time of the Golus in the 9th of Av, excuse me. And just like the lion will once again return, and the mazal of the lion, and this will take place with the rebuilding of the base of English, what's called the Ariel, the temple. And we get a foretaste of this in the Shabbos that is on Tisha B'Av, because then we are only getting the innermost dimension, which is the goodness of Tisha B'Av. And therefore, there's no more joyful day to the Jewish people than the 15th of Av, Tu B'Av. It is the day that is fixing up and revealing the inner dimension of Tisha B'Av. And in the future to come, we will not have the separation where we have to have 6 days that separates between the concealment and the revealing. That the good part that is concealed until it's revealed 6 days later on the 15th of Av. Because in the days of Mashiach, it's going to be instant. We're already going to see the goodness of the 9th of Av. And if so, therefore we can see the comparison to the greatness of the 15th of Av. Together with Yom Kippur, the Rebbe is making a continuation between the 9th of Av and the 15th of Av. Yom Kippur, on the day of Yom Kippur, our Yechida, the 5th level of our soul, is revealed. And what is that 5th level of our soul connected to? The general 5th level of the soul of all the Jewish people, which is called the Yechida, the Klalit, which is the soul of Mashiach. And therefore it's going to reveal this level of Malchus, which is what is called a Penimius Atik, the innermost dimension of the crown. And this is a foretaste of how it will be in the future to come. The Hoisif, in addition to the Shahasiyon, the Shiva Hanachamasa, Shiva Achid, and also we have what is called the 7 Shabbats of comforting, which are between Tisha B'Av and in Rosh Hashanah. There's 7 Shabbats of comforting, if you will. They're called 7 weeks of comforting that God brings us. Rosh Hashanah hu Yom Kippur, and we know that the completion of Rosh Hashanah is Yom Kippur. Yom HaKippurim hu Yom HaTenusos Matan Torah, because this is the day of the chatuna, the marriage of the giving of the Torah. And the completion of the 40 days that Moshe went up to the mountain preceding Yom Kippur. That begins on Rosh Chodesh Elul. And we see this as also connected to the days between 17th of Tammuz and Rosh Chodesh Elul. And we see, as we said above, that when Shabbos and Tisha B'Av coincide, it is a foretaste of how things will be in the redemption, when the innermost aspect of Tisha B'Av is revealed in its state of goodness. Nimtza b'Tisha B'Av atzma yishna al derek hagilui Yom Kippur. And it comes out from this, the Tisha B'Av itself, that this is revealed up through Yom Kippur. Okay. Hey. According to what we said above, the connection between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur is the idea of that it's not eating and drinking, etc. Tisha B'Av, Megillah Mitzvah Oinik Shabbat, that you know you're supposed to eat and drink extra prior to the day of the fast. Like in Yom Kippur, it says if you eat double the day before, it's like considered like you fasted double days. The Rebbe is bringing out the example of how we have the same idea when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, how we have to eat and drink more than normal and have additional pleasure from Shabbat more than normal. Shai Dezem Malas Aliyah HaKasuv. Atzim, Paul Bo, Aliyah, Yila Hatana Tisha B'Esri, Yetlo Hamayla, Shel Atan, Ain Mohalaba. In the Rochid Vashtia Tisha B'Av, you're saying in Yamim, and like in Olam Haba, that there's no eating or drinking up in heaven. So it's a little foretaste of that. Yisir Mazet, Kivan Echal, Lo B'Kol Yom Shihabo, Ogom Shivo B'Kol Yom, and as we said earlier, and we await Mashiach's arrival every day, literally, B'Yom Zem Mamish. Literally, think about that we're supposed to believe, we have an obligation, according to our faith, to believe that every day, to believe that Mashiach is coming today, right? So when you hear in a shul, rabbis saying, Bim hara b'yameinu, that's a big problem, because that's pretty much against the halacha. We're not supposed to say Mashiach should come speedily in our days, because we have to believe Mashiach's coming today. That's not speedily in our days. That's today. Moshiach Now. That's why, of course, the Rebbe flipped the script when he came up with the whole Moshiach Now campaign. Literally, Moshiach Now, not speedily. Now, this moment. Yoim Toiv Gadol, this great day. In Kain Muvan Shamala Eliyah HaKasuv Shanasa Ileh HaOchal B'Shtia B'Tishrei. Talking about on Yom Kippur, the day before we have to eat and drink even more than normal. And the inauguration of the base of Mikdash Shlishi will happen. And don't push off any fasting, because we'll be celebrating, partying it up. We know that on the first temple, the inauguration was on Yom Kippur, and it got pushed off. There was no fast because of the inauguration of the temple. Yep, should happen immediately. And this is addition to how it applies in this year. And we see on the 9th of Ab, this is and it's an example when it gets pushed off to the 10th, which will be on that year on Sunday. and is a foretaste of an example how the beginning of creation, which took place on the first day of the week as well, Yom Rishon, which is Sunday in the Hebrew calendar. Excuse me. Kasher HaKadosh Baruch HaYechid Ba'om. V'Mashiach Bo Tekem Yad Mamash. The Mashiach will come immediately. Har the Mecheres. Yom Echad Ezra Ba'av. Ta'ir al-Achdusai Yisbrek V'Taklis HaGilui. Al Derek HaGilui Da'ata B'Shana. The Esrei B'Tishrei. Yehi Hashem Limach Al Ha'aretz V'Yom Hu Yehi Adonai Echad U'Shema Echad. And Hashem will rule forever. And his name will be one, and he will be one. Yesh l'mor shezehu gam ha'tayim l'kach. Shom yaseret tish b'chodesh kasher im tisarichi kodesh kodesh b'chal v'b'gamar. Okay, Vav. All right, now the Rebbe is going to bring us to a whole new dimension. Crazy stuff. Yesh l'hoisif, in addition to this, shebekviyo shanazu, k'shet'isha ba'av shal b'shabbat, v'gol matchila shal yom ha'mitzri, chol b'shabbat. And then the Rebbe said this is also, just because, as Tisha B'Av fell out on Shabbat, it's because Yud Zayin Tammuz fell on Shabbat, which means the entire 3 weeks, which are normally what we call as the Ben HaMitzrim, the days of Nero, began and ended on fast days. On the 17th of Tammuz, they always are fast days. On Shabbat, the 17th of Tammuz was on a Shabbat, and the 9th of Av was on a Shabbat. And the Rebbe is going to give us some pigazim right here. Nimtza b'tchila v'siyam shel talasa u'pranasa. And we see that even though that there was previously three main negative things that took place during these 3 weeks are indicative of 3 bad past experiences. That those things are not applicable to us. On the contrary, because it's Shabbat, and things are already sweetened. These are days of goodness. The mitzvah that enjoy. In Shabbat, it's a mitzvah to enjoy and have pleasure. Of course, we know that there's no fasting. Not on the 17th of Tammuz and on the 9th of Av, because they both got pushed off by Shabbat. But Yesh Lamar is to say, and therefore, the Rebbe says, this is so beautiful. We are now expressing and revealing the innermost dimension of these 3, what appear to be negative things. For these 3 weeks that are normally negative, we're now at an opportunity that we're revealing the innermost dimension of them. Because these 3 weeks, so amazing, are connected to the 3 levels of our mochin, our brain. Because in the time of the exile, our 3 brains, which is basically, it's depending on how you configure it, Chokhmah, Bina, and Das, or Chokhmah, Bina, and Keter. When you count Keter, you don't count Das, and vice versa. That to the times of the exile, the main essence of our brain is concealed and has gone up, because our brain and the crown that is above it is connected to the 2 higher worlds, or the 2 higher dimensions of our soul, which is connected to the levels of the Chaya and the Yechida. And those levels are of 2 lofty, pure lights, spiritual power, that they couldn't be enclosed inside of our body and our brain, so they are up above in the upper worlds. And therefore, Kafi, let me just continue. Inside Kafi Shazet is Gala B'Shlemos B'Gun Mitzvah Shlema. And they will reach their state of true revelation and true perfection, the true and complete redemption, meaning our intellectual faculties in our brain. and then we will conquer all 10 lands. In addition to the 7 lands that we've already conquered, referring to the emotional attributes in the heart. Corresponding to the rectification and purifying of the 7 emotional attributes that come from our heart. We will then have addition to 3 final lands, which are Kini, Kenizi, and Kadmoni. And they're connected to the 3 mochi, to the 3 brains. We know that Kini is connected to Chochmah, Kenizi to Bina, and Kadmoni to Ket. And these are the 3 brains. That after these 3 brains have been in a state of concealment, it will be revealed, and their power in a much higher level than even they were before, because we know the light that comes from darkness is higher than the light that is a light in and of itself. Yeah, there's a lot we can talk about here, but it's a very long sikha. So as much as I would love to sit and forbring, we're not going to. But just briefly, the idea is that the entire purpose of creation is that we should elevate our 7 emotional attributes, which correspond to Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, and Malchus, which are primarily inside of our hearts. And the main reason we are using our brains is to elevate the sparks that fell down and to purify our emotions. That has been the general work of us as Jewish people, for this thousands of years of exile. That's why we are given the Torah. And that is the primary function of Chabad, to prepare us for Mashiach. Chabad meaning Chochmah, Bina, and Das. To use our intellectual faculties to elevate these 7 emotions. That's why when Chabad Hasidus came out, it was the after, of course, from and based on the teachings of Shimon Bar Yochai and the Zohar and the Arizal and his teachings, and then the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid, and then ultimately became Chabad Hasidus. And the whole idea of that is to elevate and use our minds to elevate our hearts. But now we're reaching the final stage, which is redemption. And in redemption, the main final conquering is of the 3 lands, and that's where we're holding now, because we're already in redemption. So just as, and I don't know why people seem to have such a challenge with this concept, but the whole point of Chabad is to elevate our emotions, because the emotions are in the hearts, and you need a power source that's higher in order to fix what's lower. That's why we had to use our heads to fix our hearts. But now we have to go higher than our heads to fix our heads. You see the level of challenges we have in our generation and of mental illness. And the entire world is in a state of gaslighting and brainwashing, and everything is about subliminal messaging and how to trick people into thinking in a particular way. The main focus now is on the brain. It was on the heart for a long time, getting us excited and emotional about all these things. And now everything's very intellectual about following different types of leaders and their messaging. And such of it is such garbage, and they're polluting our brains if you pay attention to this stuff. So how do you fix your brain? You have to go higher than your brain, which is the Keter, which is the crown that is above. And that's the whole point why the Rebbe told us to learn about Mashiach and Geula, so we can enter in a state of Mashiach consciousness. Wow. What's happening, brother? Yes, Moach Shlit Halev. That's the idea. The idea is to use our heads to control our hearts. But what do you do when your head's messed up, which is where we're holding now? You need to go above your head. So what do you need for that? You need the crown. You need the Keter. That's what Mashiach is about. That's the 5th level of our soul. In fact, that Av is the 5th month of the year. It's connected to 5, connected to the general Yechida of Mashiach. And the idea is that we should permeate our brains, our intellectual faculties, with a level that's higher than that, which is Ratzoin, which is Tainu, which is Amunah, which are the 3 heads of Keter, in order to elevate our brains. And that's why the Rebbe said, when you learn these sichas, you're actually entering into a state of Mashiach consciousness, because you're taking after the Rebbe already revealed himself as Mashiach for the first majority of the years of the Rebbe's taking over as Rebbe and being the leader of our generation. The whole work was Mochi. The whole work was Chabad. Mochi Nishlit Alev. Then, when the Rebbe revealed himself as Melech HaMashiach, which took place in Nun Alpha and Nun Base, when that whole Mashiach campaign started, the Rebbe elevated not just our teachings, but himself through God's hand into Keter. He pushed us up, which is, if you don't go up, you go down, which is you have people who are singing and excited about Geula. I'm talking within Chabad. And there are people in Chabad who we lost our Rebbe or Abba. He left us a legacy. We don't have him anymore. Who's your Rebbe? I don't know. Because they went down. You either go up or you go down. You don't stay still. It's impossible to stay still. So in order to elevate in our brain, we have to go higher. And that's why the Rebbe said over and over and over again, to learn the teachings of Mashiach and Geula, especially from the leader of the generation. Because here, for a year straight, Nun Aleph to Nun Beis, the Rebbe every week, when you're going inside these teachings, is preparing our crown. He's taking us out of this gullus. He's giving us the tools, whether we realize it or not, in these teachings. When you learn Torah, even if when you learn Chumash, when you learn the written Torah, Kesuv, you don't need to understand what you're learning. It's nice, but you're purifying the darkness inside of you by adding God's wisdom. You're taking God's wisdom and his knowledge, and you're flushing it through the dark places of your own brain, and you're elevating your soul. It's the same thing with these teachings. The Rebbe is giving us his keter. He's now taken his crown and he's put it into these teachings. And he's saying when you learn them, you're purifying yourself and you're purifying your brain. You're reaching a higher state of consciousness. And that is the idea, my friends, that we are now going in the process of, rectifying the final three lands. And they are Kini, Kanizi, and Kadmoni, which are connected to the Gimel Mochim, as we said, Chokmah, Bina, and Keter. Rather, Rabba, Kevansha, Igilui, the Hagimel, Hamochi, Nas, Larachayahel. We said that already. It will be transformed, the darkness that we've had, into light. Right? We know the feeling when something is blocked in your brain, right? God forbid, you're stuck, right? You're stuck in a Alavai, you're stuck in a Torah passage, you're stuck in you're fetched over a Tosafos in the Gemara, you're fetched over some deep Chassidus, you're breaking your head. I learned with my wife, Baruch Hashem, we learned Imre Bina, we've been learning for over a year, Shabbos morning. It's deep Chassidus, it's deep, and you got to break your head. And you're breaking your head, and sometimes you don't see. And then all of a sudden, what is it called? It says, oh, the light bulb went off. What does it mean? It means light entered in. When light enters into darkness, meaning you didn't see, and now you see. I don't mean with these eyes, I mean with the eyes in here. That when something was unclear to you, when you're in a stage of your life where it was dark, when you didn't have direction, where you were lost and you're confused, and and then all of a sudden you have clarity, that's a machaya, right? It's like, oh, it's such a great feeling to become enlightened in your brain when light goes off. And that's the idea. When we clear out the dark places inside of our mind, when you have a breakthrough, when you have a new state of consciousness, that light is even more powerful than the darkness that concealed it before. And that's the idea. We've got to break away from this Galus mentality and enter into the Mashiach Geula mentality. ויש לקשר זה גם עם פרשיות השבוע, של שלושת השבוע, פנחס, מטס, מעשה דבר. And we see this alluded to also the three parshas we read during these 3 weeks, which are Pinchas, Matos, Masai, and Devarim. Hatzar HaShavar Shel Gimel HaPerushim Hu, Shebehem Medubar Benoga Luchas HaArts. And we see that's connected to the dividing of the land. Parshas Pinchas. We had, of course, we learned last week of 2 weeks ago about dividing up of the land through the Goral. Ach, Goral Yachilech Es HaArts, the Goral divider of the land. Parshas Matois, Bekashis, B'nei Gad V'Ruvain, Yotein Es HaArts Hazoif La'avidecha L'Chasar, the giving of these tribes. Ma'avar HaYardim, crossing the Yardim, Parshas Masa, Zois HaArts, Asher Tipot Lechem V'Nechala, Asher Chalasa, Esa Goyla, Devouring, each one of these parshas is connected to the dividing up and giving of the land. And our parsha Devarim, B'tchilas parsha, Panu v'so lechem v'o hari ba'amuri v'al kol shechanot Eretz Kanani Lavin ad Nahar Hagadol Nahar Paras Ra'a Nasati Lefnechem. Look and see, this is the land before you that I'm going to give to you. I'm going to put in your hands. Es haaretz v'vov Yerushua Es haaretz Asher Nishba Hashem Levosechem V'siyim HaParsha V'kivas haaretz Sichon V'oeg V'nasal Levnei Gad V'nei Ruven. Talking about the splitting up of the land again in our week's parsha. Wow, did a lot of doodling on this page. Upratia Yishais, the Gimel Parshias Edom Medubar Benogal Chiluchas Haaretz Kulu. Loirak be'erev hayardim ba'avrei hayardim ba'arva elagam ba'avrei hayardim mizrach. Not only the pushing out of the land to the west, but to the east as well. Don't get me started because I'll start getting fired about this nonsense with the red line and the green line and it just boggles my brain. That Israel keeps telling everyone, we're following international law. Yeah, they care about the international law. Stop with this nonsense. Follow God. This is the land that God gave us. Insanity. Anyhow, and therefore we have still now the final 3 lands that need to be conquered. We've already conquered the 7 lands. In other words, our emotional attributes are already elevated. We've already lifted up all the sparks. The 288 sparks of Tohu that fell into this world have been elevated. There's no more beruring. There's no more rectification. It's done. Now we're focusing on the final 3 lands, the Mochi. That's why we need the Ket. And all this land will belong to the Jewish people. And we see this as hinted also that the Gimel Mochim that are going to be together with the Zayin Midos. In other words, you have to have all of them. And these three weeks are connected to these 3. Isn't it incredible that the 3 weeks, which are, you could ask any rabbi out there on YouTube, on getting Torah classes, tell me about the 3 weeks. Wow, the worst time. That's why such bad things are happening. And all they're going to talk about is negativity. Our Rebbe, complete opposite. Nothing negative. He said everything's been transformed. We're now connected to the inner dimension. And the 3 weeks are connected to our mochim, to Chokmah, Bina, and Ketzer, to the highest aspect of our being. They're the holiest time of the year. Tisha B'Av is the time Mashiach is born. The highest, most elevated time of the Mazal of all the Jewish people. We just have to refocus our energy away from the negativity of the past and into the positivity and the light of the now and the future. That's where we need to live right now. We have to live in that state of awareness. But if you're not learning this, how are you going to know that? All you're going to do is sit and talk about all the negative and horrible things. Our Rebbe flips everything over and turns everything to good because it is good. He's not giving us some false belief or false hopes. He's just pointing out and revealing the true inner essence of what has really happened. And we see that these 3 weeks are connected to the 3 mochin, and the 7 weeks that follow, the weeks of comfort, are the 7 lands. In other words, when you reach a state of consciousness, of Mashiach consciousness, everything flows in a way of peace. There's no more war. There's no more struggle. In your emotions. The reason we have an emotional struggle, the reason why we feel emotionally detached, the reason why we don't get excited about things is here. It's not here. We're looking for false things to bring us joy and happiness and excitement, and they're not working. Why? Because we're dealing with what's called a chitzoni halev, the outer part of the heart. The only way to have true joy is called panemius halev, and the only way to get the inner part of the heart is through here, through learning Torah about Mashiach and Geula, transforming your brain from a place of darkness to a place of light. You can't do it without the Torah. It's impossible. You could sit all day long and say, don't think bad, I'm thinking good, it doesn't work. It's very nice and fluffy, but if you're a Jew, you got a godly soul. And only the power of that godly soul can transform the darkness inside of us to light. And we know that the main work we need to do is transform here and now to the land of Israel. We must conquer and divide the entire world and transform it to the land of Israel. A dwelling place for Hashem down here below. In the ultimate way. Thought, speech, and action. And the entire land of Israel will spread out to the whole world. The whole world will become the Holy Land. Everything will become Kedusha. There's no other way. I've tried. No other way. It's only God's way. And more the world is going to wake up and start to realize it. It's the only way. The only way to peace, the only way to joy, the only way to redemption is God's way. There's no other thing. There's no other system. There's no other leader. There's no other anything in the world other than God's path. And that's what we're seeing right now in the threshold of redemption as the world is bubbling over and people are eating each other alive because each one has their opinion of what they think should be right or wrong. And none of it has anything to do with God. Maybe there's false gods they created. But the real Torah, Zion, and this is to add to the revealing of Mashiach that takes place on Tisha B'Av. And we see another foretaste of the redemption by the parsha that we read in Mincha and Tisha B'Av. And according to in general that the Torah is eternal. The Torah melashon hora'ah. The Torah is from the language of hora'ah, which means to teach or to teach, to educate. And all matters in the Torah are eternal forever. And therefore, they are eternal teachings to all the Yidden in all times, in all places. These ores hashayla. And so a question is arising. What is the eternal teaching of this is next week's parsha of Moshe crying out and praying to Hashem to enter the land of Israel? Tefillah kasher shalom niskaya as it wasn't first of all wasn't fulfilled. Hashem said nope. So how does that have to do with us now? Move on, but Pashtu, but Tefillah Soisham Moshe Kiyamo calls him on with Tekavo Tekvim. But Kamoshe Kosu is Paulus, so you shall call it Tzaddik. The Rebbe said, first of all, nothing is in vain. And every prayer of Moshe, how much more so because he's a tzaddik and he's a leader of a generation, had an impact and has an eternal impact on the Jewish people. Do you understand that? Just think about that for a second. There's nothing that is in vain. Meaning, if you're praying and somehow you feel that God does not answer your prayers, not listening, doesn't matter. You're bringing positive energy. You're removing layers from your heart. You're doing everything that we do for positive. Everything is 100% has an eternal, lasting effect. Every positive word, every mitzvah, every prayer, every tehillim, we do it and we're like, well, nothing happened. It's permanent for eternity. Goodness from a result of every good thing we do. There's nothing that is good that is done in vain. How much more so we see the prayers of Moshe Rabbeinu. How much more so that Moshe prayed 515 times? That's a lot of prayers. And the Rebbe says we could say that the prayer of Moshe is permanent. It has an eternal, lasting effect. Because this prayer enabled the Jewish people to enter the land of Israel. And build the Beis Hamikdash. And it will be the prayer that helps build the third temple. And the true and complete redemption. Wow. You understand? All your good deeds, all your prayer, everything you do is helping bringing redemption. Whether you see it with your physical eyes today, or it won't be revealed yet, but in time it will be. And the cause that Moshe's prayer was not actually fulfilled in his time in the physical world. Nevertheless, for sure, the prayer of Moshe is eternal and it has a permanence. And we will see it in the true and complete redemption. Because the first Redeemer, Moshe, is connected to the last Redeemer, Mashiach. And Mashiach himself will enter the land of Israel with the schus of Moshe's prayers. And there'll be no more exile. And he will build the third eternal temple. Oh, it needs to happen already. It's Ad Masay. Then Nimsa Tfilas Rishon Moshe V'Kiyames La'olam B'Fual B'Tvolasoi Elo B'Zman Ahu Rak La'achar Zaman Shabbat HaGulat Nitzchis Moshe Gula Rishon Hu Gula Acharet That's Esra Kol Yisrael. Moshe's prayer exists forever because he will actually go into the land of Israel with Mashiach and all the Jewish people. Take up Yad Mamish. Ches. And from this we can learn an eternal teaching of the fact of Moshe's prayer of through all times and places. Moshe tchila tefila sob amru ata chilula charis es avadach pasach lihiyois oimer b'tfilau. Klomar, Sha'al pi nit gezera Amar lo mimcha midase sha'amiras li va'ata nilche lebeche taifas hiya v'cha ela b'tuach betach sheba hayat tilui atafila aleim kamo ke yesa sabor la'asei sakshab ata ein mi simcha that it is possible to cancel a decree. That Moshe's prayer was for the sake of the Jewish people. And it is an eternal prayer, and he kept praying for the Jewish people. And therefore, those prayers continue on and bring blessings. As Moshe called to Louis Bo. 515 times. Do you understand that? Hashem kept saying stop, and Moshe did not stop. 515 times he prayed for the Jewish people to enter into the land of Israel. And therefore, I already said that. Shemahu po HaKadosh Baruch Hu betach gezer sinechalo likanas Eretz Israel, that there was actually a decree that the Jewish people weren't supposed to enter the land of Israel. So even though Hashem stopped Moshe from entering the land of Israel, because of his prayers, the Jewish people entered the land of Israel. So they had more power than what we would think. And even more than this. Even after Hashem said, no more, stop. So it's a big question. Why did Moshe not listen to Hashem? שמשה מסר את נפשו המשיך לכבש התפלל לכנס ארץ ישראל ואפילו אם זה בידי משה לפועל על ידי תפילה אסור לכנס ארץ ישראל הרי לכי הראה ישראל אמיתיס רבי אמיתיס מלימד התורה לישראל אמיתי הוא אינו יוצא מסגלו בשעריו שם את תלמידיו אלא שלמוס הגאולה, שלא היה בכך שבכאן עמו נגלים כל תלמידיו. במילה מובן, תפילה משה להיכנס לארץ ישראל, כלל בתוכה, גם נשאר שבדורי, דור המדבר, כנס לארץ ישראל, בגאולה מצרים. Basically, it says Moshe will not leave his students forever. That we will go into Israel with Moshe because we are a gilgul of the generation that went out of Egypt. And by the way, the reason Moshe kept praying to go into Eretz Yisrael was not for himself. It wasn't that he was like, I want to go and check out to go to Masada. Moshe knew that at that moment, if he would have brought the Jewish people into Israel, Mashiach would have came. So he was doing it for the sake of Am Yisrael. And there's a continuation of Moshe in every generation. And Moshe is up into the Moshe of our generation, the leader of the generation, the Rebbe. The Rebbe talks about his father-in-law, he's referring to himself. And there's a spark of Moshe inside every Jew. And it's the voice inside of us that we need to scream out with the spark of Moshe, that don't quit. Just like Moshe kept praying to go into the land of Israel, we must keep davening every day for Hashem to bring redemption. Every day we have to demand, we have to demand of Hashem that he brings Geula. We must pound our fist and scream and demand every day, even if you don't see results from it. It's not like, you see people, I tried praying, it didn't work. No, that's not how it works out, right? It's like you're, imagine being in a cave, and you're like, I screamed for help, but no one answered. Oh, is you gonna die now? You keep screaming, right? You got to keep going. And for sure, our prayers will be fulfilled immediately. And really, in this moment, we will become free. And even all of our prayers, they will be answered in a level much higher than what the effort we put forth is for. And we will see this in the true and complete redemption. The first Redeemer connected to the last Redeemer. And we will all go to the land of Israel. We will need in the eternal redemption. And the third temple will descend from above. And we will all be fabringing in the Beis Hamikdash. Test. Inyan Zem Mitchayzik Yosef Amdeinu Achshab Abayit Mishulesh Yom Beit HaKnesset. And we are all standing together and strengthening ourselves now in the home of three dimensions: Beit HaKnesset, Beit HaMidrash, Beit Masim Tavi, the house of prayer, the house of good deeds, and the house of Torah learning. Talking, of course, of 7:7. Michaded together with Shalkov Kadosh Admor Nasi Doreno, the leader of our generation, Moshe of Sheba Doreno, the Moses of our generation. And then together we will all go to the third temple. And that will also be a temple of good deeds of prayer and Torah learning. And we will all be fabringing, in the ultimate fabringing, together with all the great leaders of the Jewish people throughout the generations. Rov Am Hadoras Melech, and the the abundance of people is fitting for the king. Asher Nosef Lezeba Kol Yehudi Hu Balabayit Ha'akal Mitzias. Lachas Kamakal Mitzias HaPratis. Aboris HaPratis. Adam Ki Yikarei. Lechem Karban Hashem. Lechem Dafka. Va'ayid Zeh Hayah Mikrabi Esgam Kol Ha'hel Ha'oilam. Shebeklu Limbo. Harza V'yosef She'ez V'yosef Oid Kasher Zeh Bo'ide Kama V'kama Esris Mi'Yisrael. Nimse'im V'achtus. Asher V'hava V'achtus Men Yisrael Nizbatras V'yivas V'galus. And all the things of the exile will be nullified, and we will all have ultimate unity. And immediately the redemption will come. And we find ourselves in Shabbos Tisha B'Av, the time of the prayer of Mincha. When this is the time, so Mashiach is actually born in Mincha. Tisha B'Av, where the mazal of Mashiach is at its strongest. The year will show you wonders. And just like when I took you out of Egypt, I will show you wonders. And every single Jew has complete faith in our true and complete Redeemer. And a king will arise from the house of David, and he will go in the ultimate completion of Torah and Mitzvot. And then he will, that's Mashiach presumptive, Mashiach. And then he will move on to the next stage of Mashiach, which is for sure Mashiach. And then we will go together, and he will build his temple. And he will redeem us and take us to our holy land. And we will all go to the Beis HaMikdash and to Israel and to, of course, to the Kodesh Kadosh. And the Rebbe said, it'll happen right now at this moment. You see the Rebbe instilling such emunah, shlema, in the Jewish people. When he's standing there and saying with all of his power, right now, so many stories the Rebbe told the people, you don't want Mashiach. You're saying it because I'm telling you to say it. If you wanted Mashiach, you'd be here. We have to do some deep soul searching and ask ourselves, are we really, really praying for Mashiach? Are we saying, okay, it comes today, tomorrow, next week, whatever. Anyways, I got some things I got to take care of. I got to expand my office, got to buy a house, I need a new car, and I got to change this. And we're so stuck in our gullus ways that we really, really, I don't know if we're really internalizing the Rebbe's message. The Mashiach is literally coming right now. In this moment, in Shabbos Tisha B'Av, Kaksha Estri B'Menachamav, Estri Zek, Keshter Nasar Kavar Kodesh, Nehefek L'Imtar N'Sasma Simcha, and surely this day will be permanently transformed into a day of great joy and happiness. Alachas Kama V'Kama, Echad Esra B'Nachamav, how much more so when we go on to the 10th of Av and the 11th of Av, Shekashar Im Echad Esra Yom Mechorev, that 11 is connected to the 11 journeys that we took. Bechinas Echad Esra, the mountain Torah, Ari B'Sinai, Agidui, the Bechinas Ket, and this is connected to the revealing of Keter, up until the point of Panemius Keter, the inner dimension of the crown. Kafish Torah He B'Sheras the Mala Ma'ila, B'Shash Mala Ma'ila, that the source of the Torah is from above. The Mala Ma'esra Sfirot is above from the 10 Sfirot. Yichad Im Zeh Nimshak Mezeh B'Kol Ha'Esra Sfiros, and this is drawing down the 1 that's connected to the 10, which is 11. Of course, we know that 11 being the birthday of Mashiach. Avoda Sa'adam, Ha'ayin the Barachas HaTorah. And we see in the service of man, like when we're saying the blessing of the Torah you're giving me right now. ועל דרך זה ישנה גילוי ליום אחד עשר בכל חודש. לחץ כמה חודש מנחמה, שכאשר עם הגאולה, ועם הגילוי לתורה חדש מציץ. And we see how much more so did supply in the month of Menachem, which is the month of connection to the redemption, when the new Torah will be revealed. And then we will have the completion of the 11 journeys that we took from Torah. And the number 11 is connected to the new Torah that will come out from me, from Hashem himself. Boyfriend shall teach, coming out. And drawing out of all these big, tremendous blachas and energy down into this physical world. Yom Shlishi, Shekolabot Hikai, Filatush, Kafal Kashar Ima Gula, Yom Revi'i. The Rebbe is saying all the days after, how everyone is connected to the redemption. Everything the Rebbe touches from the day he became Rebbe, the day he was born, Allah has come of a comma, and the last couple of years of the time we were able to see the Rebbe with our physical eyes. In the most recent teachings of the Rebbe, every word of the Rebbe is connected to redemption. Whatever it is. Oh, what is today? Thursday? Oh, that's a perfect day, because on Thursday, this is what happened. Mashiach will come on Thursday. Mashiach will come in the nighttime. He'll come in the morning. He'll come. Everything is the concept of Mashiach coming right now. Allah has come of Yom Chashishi, how much more so on the 6th day, etc., up into the Shabbos. Okay. Yud, Agam Anim Ami. Here's a boy B'Yom Zeh Mamash B'Chol. And when the Rebbe says, and I believe that Mashiach is coming today, HaTorah Moral Yehudi, because the Torah is a teaching for the Yid. Sha'alav Tamil Aseis Avodah Say Kedivei V'Shleimus Lefi Mitzavot V'Haveh V'Klo Esra Hakanas Ta'aminis V'Hakana Rabas Inyan HaKadusha Sha'al Aseis Machar Macharabim La'achar B'Zman. The Rebbe said we have to continue having Chassidus Fabregas, and we must make good resolutions. The Heist of Indian HaTorah mitzvahs, and adding on in ways of Torah and mitzvot. And spreading out the well springs of the inner dimension of the Torah. The Hagdim, the Heisef. And if God forbid Mashiach still isn't here, and God forbid he doesn't come literally today, but we must take on these good resolutions in case God forbid Mashiach's not coming right now. But in truth, בזמן הגלוס, כדוע ביורח המחזור, אשר מי שבא לכאן ותלמידה בידוי, שהכנה וחליל הגילויים בעבודה בגן עדן ועל דרך זה בגולה. הרי זה על ידי תלמידה בנו. בזמן הזה שרוב קשור עם בזמן במקום הגלוס, וזה כוחי, התורה בגן עדן, ושיא לבוא, ועל דרך זה בנוגע לכלל לסבורת בזמן הזה, ותחת לשלם הזה, של ימוס המשיח, וחייס, תהיה חמש. That all our Torah learning and all our good deeds, everything's going to be out of it. But the fall in actuality, the good resolutions that we specifically take place on these days. We see as it's connected to the Haftorah portion of Shabbos Chazar. That Zion will be redeemed through tzedakah. Mishpat Kol HaTorah. The Mishpat is connected to Torah, but tzedakah is connected to the mitzvah of tzedakah. And these days, it's very important to increase in the learning of Torah and doing a mitzvot. And specifically the mitzvah of tzedakah. It's a very opportune time to give a lot of tzedakah. Moti Yom Rishon, Yamim La'achar Zeh, all the days that shall come afterwards. But Mishparatz, Hareva Hemshik Lama, Shidu Bar Itvadu Ifnei Zeh, Kan HaMakayim Al Pasal Ra B'Chodesh, Al Pi HaMachadash, Im Has V'Shlom Mashiach Dechab. And if Mashiach tarries and he doesn't come, God forbid, we must continue having Fabrengas and adding on in all matters of good things. Siyom Mesechta Tishas and having more Siyom Mesechtas. Tisha Yamin Kolav Yom Shabbat Kodesh Zeh. Achazah Gam Moti Shabbat Yom Rishon Esar Ba'av. Achaz Gam Moti Yom Rishon. So Hayamim Shar Achazah Chamisha Esar Ba'av. Up until, of course, the 15th of Av. Im Meshach Tisha Ba'av. Im Mashiach Dichav Chas V'Shalom B'Yimim Hagoyim. V'Tzeim Shemashocho V'Arichi. Yichas Yoyim Gam Yoyim Achazah. Chamisha Esar Ba'av. God forbid the Rebbe said Mashiach doesn't come. Still, we have to continue strengthening and adding on in Torah, mitzvot, and tzedakah, and for bringing up to the 15th of Av. Yudov. The kasher im chamisha ezer ba'av. As it's connected to the 15th of Av. Oh, we're not that far off till we finish. Yom Eshishi Ab'al Kidit Rishar Vakal Makoyim Makoyim Itvadu Gadol Besimcha Gadol. The Kvetz Yehudi Anshi Nashim V'Tav. Radivar Torah Toim Asoy Siyom Maseches. It says when it says Tzedakah, and the Rebbe said keep making more Siyoms of Torah, and keep adding on good resolutions and giving more tzedakah. This is Chamisha Ezer Ba'al Shov B'Shana Zuk B'Yom HaShishi, and that year it falls on the 6th day of the week, and that there should be a Farbrengen on the night before, talking about the 15th of Av. And at these Farbrengens, they must be filled with joy and gladness of heart. There's no greater joys in these days to the Jewish people. The 15th of Av, the great joy. Like in a wedding. The prod obi min hag Yisrael should be yamim el Ravim v'shiduchim v'chatunois Israel. It's a good opportune time for shiduchim and weddings, based between the 9th of Av and the 10th of Av and Tu Av. The hoisev shekavios the chamisha eser ba'av v'shana zu b'yom hashishi merumazal hasiyim ba'avodas b'nei Israel eda shishi arav v'chana l'yom shekol Shabbos munachal ha'olamim. In that particular year, Tu B'Av was on the 6th day of the week, and therefore the Rebbe is connected to Erev Shabbos, etc. And then continuing on, how much more so we have to spread out the well springs of the inner dimension of the Torah. Okay, and also not just the outside, but we have to increase in spreading out the well springs inside of us. Must keep increasing your learning Chassidus. Chassidus is the key to unlock redemption. Yud Gimel. Behi Ratson be Hashem's will. Even before we get to the 15th of Av. And in these days that preceded, immediately. We should already be in the redemption. With tremendous joy. Joy that is above any boundaries or limitations. And this simcha itself will bring the true and complete redemption from a righteous Redeemer. And then we will have the karban toda, the Thanksgiving offering. The Rebbe said even for all the times of the exile, but Yoda Hashem Chastoy and Nifleis B'nei Adam, and we will thank Hashem even for these trying times that we're in. Because we will see the true goodness of God and why we have to go through all this. And we will give great thanks and praise to God, even for all the matters that were connected to our exile. What do you say about that? And like it announced in the announcing of the redemption that was already taking place from the Frierdiker Rebbe. And we must draw down the great joy in these days. 15th of Av. And before that, all these days should be transformed to the greatest days of joy. And it will be a joy above any boundaries or limitations. Even more joy the 15th of Av than the three festival days. Even more than pouring. Why is it such a festival day? Because it says that all the tsuras, all the challenges and hard times we had on Tisha B'Av, the innermost dimension of that is revealed on the 15th of Av, 6 days later. But the Rebbe says when Mashiach comes, it will all be revealed on Tisha B'Av. There won't be that delay. But all the and through this, we should draw down in tremendous joy and more fabrengens. And draw down simcha above any boundaries or limitations. Meaning even for no reason, even if you don't have a reason, and God forbid, even if there's a reason to be opposite of simcha. The Rebbe said we have to be the simcha. Just like a complete the simcha of the wedding that will take place. The joy of the wedding between Hashem and the Yid. How much tremendous joy we will have, because we will have the true marriage between the Jewish people and Hashem, and the true and complete redemption. And it should happen literally today. But as we've said many times, that the base of Mikdash is already prepped and ready and chilling right there, ready to come down from above. And everything's prepared for the great feast. Sagora, Hana, Heteva, Vrash, Lokal, Yehudi, Hadavar, Yehudi, Sha'al, Machachim, Hush, Yehudi, Tzach, Oid, Tzaka, Ad, Im, Oid, Bakasha, Betika, Oid, Zichara, Ad, Masai. We must scream out, Ad, Masai, over and over and over again until we have the redemption. We cannot be satisfied with one time just saying, Hashem, bring redemption. And through all of this, Mashiach will come right now. And he will take all the Jewish people to our holy land. Kodesh to the holy city of Jerusalem, the Har Kodesh to the holy mountain, to the base of Midrash Shlishi. And literally on this Shabbos Chazoin, we should see the real base of Midrash, and the real should happen right now, immediately. Yechiel the name of Moreno Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Lamod. Yechiel the name of Moreno Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Lamod. Yechiel the name of Moreno Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Lamod. I will see you all in 3 weeks. Next Monday night is Erev Tisha B'Av, so we will not have a class. The week after that is Tu B'Av. We will be in Nicaragua with the center for bringing over there. And I will see you all long before in the base of Mikdash Shlishi. And I bless every one of you and all of the house of Israel to have true redemption. Even before Tisha B'Av, Mashiach should reveal himself inside of us, inside of the entire world, and take us out of this galus now. We want Mashiach now. God bless you.